Dr. Gao does a wonderful job up here, and it's a pleasure to work with her on numerous occasions throughout the year. I've got about 100 slides that'll take about 45 minutes for me to give you the appropriate context really for understanding the YKK story for the last 40 years. But unfortunately, Dr. Gao gave me 20 slides and about 15 minutes. So I'm going to do my best to paint the picture. I'm glad Mr. Wilson gave you a lot of good advice. I'm not going to be offering any advice. I'm just going to very humbly try to tell you the YKK story. About 30 minutes ago, before we started, David Kirk, who's the president of Murata North America, and Tom Yamamoto, who's the former president of Murata, and I were talking in the back, just having a casual conversation. And the subject was how are we providing support and collaboration with our sister companies in South America, Brazil, Colombia, and Argentina. And I just thought that was pretty neat that here we are talking about that kind of subject. It's all about these global alliances and global partnerships. So I think you have a very relevant topic that many businesses are discussing right now. And we'll be talking about it a little bit here too. YKK does have the two brands. Many of you may know us for our zippers, but if I had the 45 minutes, I would tell you we do a lot more than zippers. On the fastening side we do, but also on the architectural product side. We make aluminum for commercial office buildings. We also make vinyl windows for houses. 2/3 of our global sales are a little over $6 billion, which is not much, but it's not small either. But about 2/3 of those sales are architectural products, and that probably surprises you. The world of YKK is divided into 6 regions. I'm honored to be responsible for the North and Central America region. It's not completely descriptive because you'll notice we go down into the northern part of South America. Colombia, we have a company in Medellin, Colombia, that's part of our region as well. But you can see the other regions of the world. YKK is in 71 different countries. The company was founded in 1934 by Tadao Yoshida. And I wish I had more time to tell you about him. I had the great privilege and honor of knowing Mr. Yoshida very well. His son, Tadahiro Yoshida, is now our chairman. I joined the company in 1973, by the way, so my perspective is in looking back a very long distance, and there has been so much change, and I'm going to try to touch briefly on that as I go through my remaining slides. This is our region, the 13 companies from Canada, Montreal, Canada, down through the United States, Mexico, throughout Central America, and down into Colombia. We were established in the United States in 1960 and opened an office in Atlanta in 1970, and in 1972 acquired 50 acres down in Macon, where in 1974, thanks to Mr. Williams' family, we built our first factory and expanded there dramatically over the next few years. And the Murata story is very similar to ours. In fact, David Kirk and I had lunch recently and compared notes on our histories, and they were very similar. So there are a lot of companies up there that could tell you a similar story. But Murata and YKK were I think the first 2 Japanese companies to come to the southeastern United States back in the 1970s, 1972. And now there are like 550 Japanese companies in the state of Georgia, and many more of that throughout the southeast. So we like to have been a part of all this. Oh, I should have gone down a little bit. So we opened the first facility in Macon in 1974. In 1978, 1979, we acquired another 250 acres. In 1991, we established YKK AP America, and we opened our facility in Dublin in 1992. We've grown now in Macon. We have 2.5 million square feet of manufacturing on those 2 sites, total of 300 acres. That's the good news. The bad news is about 35–40% of those buildings are sitting there empty now for reasons I'll explain to you later. But we continue to grow in Dublin. We're up to 1 million square feet there and working with those 2 communities, 2 great communities, the Macon and the Dublin community. I put this slide up there. It's not one of my favorite slides because if you look way down at the bottom, you see where all the action is. You see on the left the fastening business, on the right the architectural products business. It looks like we and YKK Corporation of America think we're the big shots, and we're really not. Everyone you see in the yellow portion, we're there supporting the people in fastening and architectural products. I really need to adjust that slide because it conveys a very different message. The reason I put it up there is because so many of the things that we do, first it was local. for a long period of our history, everything was local. We were in Costa Rica because we wanted to manufacture zippers for the Costa Rican market. First it was local, then it became regional, and we went through about 10 years where everything had great regional significance. But now all that's gone, and everything is global. Everything that we do is global. And all of these department heads, the legal, for example, they're working with YKK around the world, and especially with Tokyo every day. And like Mr. Wilson said, it is a 24-hour proposition. When the tsunami hit in Japan, I'm an early riser, and I got up and I looked at my emails, and my CFO happened to be in Tokyo at the time, and he wrote me and he said, "Alex, we just had a significant earthquake here." And I said, "Oh my goodness," and I'm standing there. And by that time my phone rings, and it was the mayor of Dublin, who's an early riser, who knows that I'm an early riser. It was Phil Best down in Dublin, and he said, "Alex, how are people in Tokyo?" I said, "Well, Phil, I don't know yet. I just got up. Give me an hour or two." That was a very troubling time for a lot of companies, a lot of Japanese companies, and we were very fortunate not to lose any employees throughout that. We're very philosophically based, the cycle of goodness. No one prospers without rendering benefit to others. And the way I have seen that played out over the years, the way I've come to understand it, one way is that every decision that we make strategically, globally, we think about how are those decisions going to affect our employees, our customers, of course, and also the communities in which we work. And all that sounds very, yeah, you know, a lot of companies say those kinds of things, but if I had more time, I could give you instances and illustrations of how it really has meaning for us. Part of that dealing with the community, this is a little self-serving, but in 1985, YKK donated the Japanese garden out of the Carter Center. And we're very proud to have worked with President Carter. President Carter was Governor Carter when Murata and YKK came to the state. He played a role. He had the vision to see that there were great opportunities for the state with Japanese companies, and that relationship continues. And down in Macon, you know, that was a Cherry Blossom Festival. I don't know how many of you were able to see us marching in the parade a few weeks ago. I see some people pointing to each other. But in 1990, we donated the Cherry Blossom House to the Macon community. We're very proud to do that. More significantly, I think, are the sister city relationships in Macon with Kurobe, and in Dublin with Sambogi. Well, it's Osaki now. They changed the name of the city. And it's not just students going back and forth, high school students, but also doctors go back and forth from country to country and share information. So these relationships have really enhanced, I think, the lives of a lot of people in Macon and in Japan, and in Dublin in Japan. I walked out of a Japanese restaurant recently, and I was with a group, and as I got out, a waitress called me back and wanted to talk with me, and she said, "Mr. Gregory, I wanted you to know that a few years ago I was one of the students that left Japan and went to Macon and spent 2 weeks there, and it changed my life. And now I'm going to London to study next month," and she and I remain in touch. I literally get emotional talking about this stuff because it's so impactful to you to walk in a restaurant and have somebody say something like that. So all these things we're doing and you're doing and the companies are doing, they have great meaning. We touch a lot of lives in very positive ways. These are not to scale. The left-hand side is the 50 acres. The right-hand side is 250 acres, the facility. They don't look very attractive from this view, but the second one on the right, President, the founder of the company, YKK's founder, always wanted to have a factory in a forest. You know, land in Japan is at a premium, and so you stack buildings next to each other. He always dreamed of being able to walk out of a factory and see trees. So the lower right was our version of the factory in the forest, and Mr. Yoshida, when he was alive, was very proud of that. I hope these next two slides will convey to you the challenge we have faced in this region. In the late 1990s, the blue stars represent jeans factories from two customers that we had in the United States. There were a lot of other customers. These were two, the biggest two, and you would know them well. So we were shipping zippers to these customers every day. The next slide is I'm going to show you how many stars are still there in the early 2000s. Now you might think 50%, you might think 25%. The answer is none. Our customers became global during that period of time. They said, why do I have to deal with wages and unions and federal regulations. Why do I have to deal with any of that when I can go to Mexico or Central America or Vietnam or China or anywhere in the world and deal with a contractor and say, I want 1,000 dozen pairs of jeans that have a YKK zipper in it, and this kind of denim, and that kind of label, and that kind of sewing thread, and it suddenly appears. And that's what they have all done, and we've had to work with them, and you can't begin to imagine the challenges that we have had to face in adjusting to those global shifts. And that's why these strategic global partnerships are so significant for us. What we had to do in this region to provide jobs and to continue working was to innovate and adapt and move into new markets. So it's not just jeans now. We do a lot of work with the government. We do a lot of work in the safety industry, the medical industry, the automotive industry. Every company that we have is doing a lot of work with the automotive industry. I had slides of all those different markets, but I've eliminated some of them. But we also are able to export. And this is where that global connection and global partnership has really helped us. We're able to export a lot of product from our Macon facility. In Macon, we have one of 2 foundries that YKK has in the world. The other one's in Japan. We take copper and zinc and we make brass. So we're able to export that brass to 12 different countries, to YKK facilities in 12 different countries. And that's one reason we keep our employment in Macon what it is. R&D. There are 2 major areas that are very important, and when I speak with students, I say, okay, I've painted a very bleak picture to this point. A lot of things are leaving the country, but the consumer is still here. 300+ million consumers are still here. Most of the brand holders are still here. Those brand holders are developing products for those consumers. And a lot of that work is done in this part of the world. And so there are a lot of jobs, there are a lot of opportunities there. We have a very strong R&D facility down in Macon that is working with these companies every day developing products. Hundreds of products every week. By the way, 3D printing technology has changed our world. We used to spend a lot of money making samples that would take weeks to make and cost hundreds if not thousands of dollars. And now literally in minutes we can design a new product and make a sample of it for about 50 cents. So that is, I don't know why I threw that in, but it's just been very interesting to me. So R&D is very important to us in this region. I mentioned automotive. I won't dwell on this. It's just we're revolutionizing in many ways the way car seats are made and other components in an automobile. And my guess is you didn't know that when you came in the room today. I mentioned the marketing. When the world changed, when I became president in 2002, January 2002, we had just come through our worst year ever. 2002 was another terrible year because the world was changing and we weren't. So we realized we had to change immediately. One thing the customers told me when I went around and talked to the Gaps and the Levi's and the North Faces and all these people, they said, please make it easier to do business with YKK. There are too many YKKs out there operating independently. You need to all hook together and make it easy for us to do business with. So we created a global marketing team. This is 30 individuals whose job it is to work with 50 different brand holders around the world and to make it easier for them to do business. Again, for students, these are opportunities that exist that would not have existed here 20 years ago. I'll be very brief here. We fight counterfeits every day, every day. I've got a legal team that work with the ports, airports, seaports. They take pictures of zippers, they take pictures of jeans, send them to us. We say, yep, it's another counterfeit, it's another counterfeit. It's a huge issue there. Just some people in some parts of the world that don't respect intellectual property like we wish that they would. And it's just a big problem, and it's a problem for zippers. I can't imagine what it's like for automobiles and airplane parts and things like that. But again, you might not realize that there are people out there that will make counterfeit YKK zippers, but we deal with hundreds of them. Moving to the architectural products, I mentioned some of those empty buildings in Macon. We've converted one of those buildings thus far to make vinyl windows. So we have one building now in Macon making vinyl windows for houses. John Whelan Homes uses we make a very good vinyl window, and that's the only advertisement I'll say for it. But our aluminum plant is very vertically integrated. We're very proud of it. We think it's the state of the art. It's down in Dublin. It's growing rapidly, that business. And when I say we make aluminum, you might be picturing a shed in your backyard that has aluminum siding on it or something, but it's not that at all. It's the aluminum that goes in the curtain wall, storefront, windows, doors, this kind of thing. That's one of many slides that I have showing that. So we also have the residential products. We have new construction windows. We have replacement windows, impact resistant windows. I have some neat slides on how we test our impact resistant windows. After Hurricane Andrew in 1994, we developed a system using good glass, good windows, good aluminum, and to test it, we hurled 2x4s at it. And so we gained a lot of market share with that. And then the government came along and said, you know, we need that same kind of protection for bomb threats. So now we take those same window systems out to Lubbock, Texas, and we set off bombs. And it's pretty neat. You get to see the shock waves coming in and everything. And I think that was my last slide. Thank you.